Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. In today's story, OP says, I've been dating my wife for the last 5 of roughly 15 years that I've known her, and the last 5 of those have been spent as husband and wife. I adore her deeply and she's my best friend, but one day she came home and confessed to cheating on me. Now let's find out all about it in today's story with all updates. Also, if you like what I do, please give this video a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel.
My wife is a member of the National Guard and has been for several years. She has been away for quite some time to administer COVID tests in a large city about an hour away from our home. She works either 4 or 5 days each week and comes home on her breaks. This last week, she had her normal 4 to 5 days of work, followed immediately by a full weekend of drill, and then right back to work, so she has been gone for about 2 full weeks now. She had 1 day off yesterday and works today and has another day off tomorrow before resuming the normal grind. Granted, the longest we have been apart at the hands of the military has been almost 5 months. When she came home, I was naturally excited and tried to greet her with the normal hug and a kiss, and she was dismissive. She asked if we could go for a walk or something. So I got ready to go and we picked up some coffee. She told me the whole story. A large group of fellow soldiers went bar hopping with her this past Monday. She told me everyone got home fine and went to bed. Shortly after, one of her fellow soldiers knocked on her door and she let him in. At this point, they were both already drunk and started to watch TV, and the drinks kept flowing. At this point in the story, my heart sank.
She wasn't making eye contact with OP all morning and she stared at the ground the entire time.
When she told me what happened next, I couldn't believe it. I have heard countless stories about how gross some of these military guys can be, most of which comes from her first-hand experience of catcalling and inappropriate remarks. Everyone knew she was married, including this nameless piece of human. I'm at a crossroad. She has been my best friend for so long now, and we have everything together. A house, dogs, cars, basically everything except for children at this point. I'm torn because of the way I found out. She said it happened last Monday night, about 5 days ago now. She came to me and told me the news unprompted. There was 100% no chance that I would ever find out this even happened. In a city far away with someone she hardly knew? It's not right what she did. She has never done anything like this before.
She came to OP voluntarily and honestly told him what happened, and she answered any questions that he had on the spot.
What she did was unforgivable. I'll never forget, but she at least took the high road and came to me first. I had no idea. It was crushing, but after spending most of last night awake, I can realize that if someone were to come forth on their own and bring this to light, she still wants this to work. I'm just not sure what to do next. She has had mental issues with sexual trauma when she was very young. When I asked her if this was consensual, she said, not at first, but I'm tired of being the victim, so I let it happen. Next morning, she went to her supervisor and they looked into it and determined it couldn't be classified as assault.
OP couldn't sleep last night because he felt so nauseous, so he started to write her a letter instead.
I sent it to her today, and we talked for a bit. I had told her there are 3 mandatory things she must first do before anything else happens at all. First, no more drinking, which she agreed to, and gave away any alcohol she still had. My argument boiled down to, if that's what brought you here, why go back? Second, STD test. She doesn't know this guy. I don't know this guy. It's not worth the risk, and it's easily performed. Lastly, the military has counseling and therapy services for service people, and they even have a specially designed course for spouses going through any type of issues, including infidelity. This whole thing doesn't seem real. She's been dealing with this since last Monday and hasn't had a meal since. I can feel the remorse and can tell she has lost weight. We both feel gross, and after 2 weeks of not seeing her, then this, followed by another week of her being away, I feel more alone than ever. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, I want the best for both of us. I've been feeling the full swing of emotions, shame, anger, guilt, sadness, anxiety, and frustration. I recognize there is an issue here, and what I want is to solve it. Whether we stay together or not, I care for her a lot, and no matter what, I just want us both to be happy, whatever that means. I'm trying to be objective, but it's the most emotionally charged issue I've been personally involved in.
Right now, OP is looking for advice anonymously.
I'm too embarrassed to tell my friends or family, and at this point, only me, her, the guy, and both of their army supervisors know. I asked her what her definition of Netflix and chill meant. She didn't respond, but looked at the floor. It was someone who she trusted. I have learned that most people that take advantage of others in this situation are people that person trusts. I'm on the fence about what to do, but don't you guys think that her telling me means something? I would never have known if she didn't tell me. It might have eaten her up inside, and it's well deserved, but she could have just done absolutely nothing, came home for a day, and pretended nothing happened. Nobody knows the whole story. I don't either. There's still a line of what you want to know or not. Do you guys want me to ask her if she started to rub his thing, then he got a E, and then what? Did you give him oral? What was your favorite part of his body?
Since the wife left, they spent the last few hours awake last night texting each other.
I asked for more details on exactly what happened. I asked again what led up to these events that night. She said they were bar hopping, everyone went back to their hotel rooms, but continued to talk in a group chat. She had mentioned a show she was watching, and this guy said he wanted to watch it too. She invited him in. I asked how this could possibly happen and what led up to the actual act. She said when he got there, both were still drunk. She offered him beer while she drank more too. They sat on opposite sides of the same couch and watched 3 episodes of the show. She has always had a way of trying to prove that she is a tough person. Whenever we would have friends over for drinks, she would always get to a point where she would challenge everyone and anyone to some sort of physical strength challenge. Arm wrestling, regular wrestling, etc., which she admitted was probably what started the intimacy, and she admitted it was her idea to wrestle this guy. It's like she always had something to prove.
OP states that she was never like that before the guard, and he can tell it has changed her personality quite a bit.
So after about the 3rd episode, she challenged him to wrestling. She said after a while, he kissed her. One thing led to another. I asked why she didn't stop him, and she replied by saying at first, maybe that's why they wrestled, but they were 2 separate things. I'm not sure what that means, and I don't know if she does either. No matter what, this reinstills that this was completely consensual. When she came home, she did have visible bruises on her face and back, as well as a fat lip and a slight black eye. So I think this is most likely what happened, given her story of getting physical when intoxicated.
This also confirms that this was completely not forced and that possibility is out the window.
I asked her what happened the next morning. When she woke up to her alarm, they were both still drunk and he was still there. She threw his stuff at him and made him leave her hotel room. She had to go to work, and after that they met up with their leader and said they both didn't remember much, but agreed it was consensual and decided not to talk about it anymore. This makes me feel like an official report has not been made, and that makes me nervous. I didn't ask her yesterday to confirm or deny this. It didn't even occur to me to ask her while we were on the subject. I'm definitely going to ask her about this the next time we talk. She has a relative that lives in the same city she is stationed in right now and has spent as many nights possible sleeping at her apartment instead of returning to the hotel. She has talked about this with her aunt and has been receiving counseling through the military as well. I asked if any of this has seemed to help at all or not. She says it has helped.
Now, here is a little background information.
Before we even started dating 10 years ago, she told me she had previously been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. This past summer, she had to leave for about 2 months, which also included her birthday. While she was gone, I wanted to surprise her with a new renovation to our home that we both wanted for some time. I worked on it every day after work. She surprised me by coming back about a week early. The construction spanned nearly the entire 1st floor. Tools are everywhere, and the place is a work in progress. It stressed her out. It began to take a toll. We talked it through and put even more time into completing it so we could both be comfortable again. We worked through it together, and all seemed well. The timeline would line up because that was over this past summer, and the first time she met this guy was this past October, so there isn't an overlap. It doesn't mean she didn't do something with someone else earlier, I'm just saying, at that time, if she is being honest, it's not the same guy. I have seen a lot of people saying this is a clear indication that something like this most likely has happened before. She denies it and has been adamant about this being the first and only time. I feel like I believe her, but whether I do or not, it still happened at least once, and I'm not sure if that even really makes it better or worse.
Naturally, the next question OP had was asking if she had any feelings for this guy.
Her exact words were, "I didn't think so. I don't think so." I asked her to explain further, and she replied, "How could anyone do that with someone you didn't have feelings for?" Then I asked her if she still has feelings for me, and if not, when did they change or fade? Her response was, "That's one of the things I am working on." Honestly, this paragraph was the thing that hurt me the most. The reason she said these things, in her words, were that if you truly love somebody and you do this to them, do you really love that person? Or do you love this new person instead? What does that say about what your true feelings are? In a way, I think I understand the sentiment and the rationale behind it. Later, in our conversation last night, she said she was pretty positive she doesn't have feelings for him, but that's why she doesn't know why she did what she did. I really appreciate everyone here for taking the time and letting me vent. The anonymous third-party support is something I think I really need right now, in addition to the support from my friends and family that know us on a personal level. I want to thank all of you for the support, kind messages, and honesty.
End of part 1. We have the update coming up next, but before that, if you're liking what you heard so far, please give this video a thumbs up so this video will reach more and more beautiful people like you around the world. Now, here is the update.
She arrived yesterday morning, and we talked things through. A few people recommended that I record the conversation. Most people were concerned that she would try and pull something to trigger allegations against me. Others said to do it so I could use it as evidence against her and report her to her higher-ups in the military. Having an affair is a terrible decision on her part, and I may not know her as much as I would have liked to believe, but I knew she wouldn't do something like that. I did it anyways, just in case, but more importantly, I did it for myself so I could revisit her answers if I needed to, which is exactly what I did this morning.
They decided to say what they had to say at the time and agreed that OP should go first.
I told her that I'm not convinced that alcohol was the only motivation. It's just the gasoline to the fire. Without the fire, the gasoline does nothing, to which she replied, "You are probably right." She and I both agreed that this was likely the case, and it will be apparent later on. I said, "Can you see what it looks like from his perspective? He shows up at your hotel room alone, with beer, you both keep drinking, you start to wrestle, he kisses you, you don't stop him." She said maybe she was being naive. This was someone she has known for a while, but not very well. She had respect for him and thought he could be trusted. When I asked her if she has romantic feelings for him and if she regrets our marriage, she said no.
When OP asked if she would reconsider making an official report to the military, she said no.
Her reasoning here mostly boiled down to two main reasons. First, it would endanger her position within the military. She could be disciplined in any number of ways: cut wages, losing rank, dishonorable discharge, etc. Her second reason was that if word did get out, and she was to remain in the military, it would essentially paint a giant target on her back as being the easy girl. Even if she completely regretted this and never went out drinking again, you can bet anything that 80% of the other guys would be knocking on her door every night for a chance. Even if I made a report, she said she would adamantly deny anything. I asked, "Why did you even decide to tell me? You could have kept the whole thing a secret and I would have never known." She said it's because I wanted you to know. The military strongly urged me not to tell my husband a thing because it would only complicate things. On top of that, the guilt would eat her up on the inside.
Afterward, she told OP what was on her mind and asked him a few questions as well.
We both have issues with communication and have talked about it in the past. She mentioned that it felt hard for her to come to me when she was stressed if I was also stressed because someone had to be the strong one. It really turned into a vicious cycle. I was stressed taking care of everything at home and from missing her while she is gone. She is stressed at work and because I am under stress. Nothing gets resolved and the stress builds for the both of us. We have had a few issues like this in the past and neither of us like conflict, so it took a few tries, but eventually we sat down and had a heart-to-heart. I thought we were past it, but it still bothered her a great deal. Because of all the stress and the physical separation, she felt there was never a good time to bring it back up. Even if she came back for a weekend between jobs, she would just have to leave again, and even though we would be on better terms, we would still not be together.
At the end of the conversation, the both of them came to the agreement that divorce was the only real option here.
After talking it through, we had concluded that this affair was completely consensual and was her way of crying for help to get out of a relationship she was not happy with. She didn't know how to end it herself, and when the opportunity presented itself, she took her one-way ticket out of the relationship. However, we agreed that the way she handled it was neither the right nor the appropriate thing to do. The relationship should have ended when the thought first entered her mind due to the lack of communication, whether either of us realized it at the time or not. The affair doesn't fix anything, but it did put things into an extreme perspective for the both of us. She made it very clear that she was the villain in this situation, and she handled things poorly. Another point that was very important, and I mentioned in my original post, was that we started dating as soon as we were both out of high school over 10 years ago. I had dated another girl before her for just under a month, but wasn't feeling it, so I broke it off. Other than that 1 month, she is the only person I have ever been with, including intimately. The time frame from finishing high school to 10 years later are huge years of your life. It's a time to discover who you are as a person, to go out and discover things that you like or things that you don't like.
Now, instead of jumping into their own lives, they jumped into each other.
That being said, neither of us regret meeting, being friends, dating, getting married, or the marriage itself. We both loved each other greatly and cared deeply. I remembered hearing somewhere the key to finding the right person you want to marry is to find someone who is your best friend that you also want to sleep with. That description really did apply to us. We just never got the time to learn to really love ourselves first and to get to know who we really are and what's important to us individually. There is no way I would be able to look past the infidelity, and there is no way she would be happy not feeling free to chase her dreams without the fear of resenting her. She always felt like she was dragging me along with whatever she wanted to do, and resentment was inevitable if it continued much longer. We both felt like she was making large life decisions that I wasn't sure if I wanted or not. That's not sustainable for either of us.
As far as reporting her to the higher command, OP has no plans of doing so.
It feels like our marriage has run its course, and we are both hurt greatly. I wish her no additional harm. I don't want to ruin her life. She may have ruined our lives together, but she might have saved them individually. Not only that, but there are really only 3 possible outcomes if I made a complaint. Keep in mind, I'm the only person with a motive to call it in, so no matter which outcome, she would always know it was me. This whole process has been extremely draining and had a strong effect on my physical and emotional health. We separated everything 50-50, and I was adamant about separating absolutely everything. Thankfully, she has cooperated fully. Whenever there was a shared bill for the house, I told her the total, and she paid me for her half.
Just 3 days ago, OP got his check for selling the house, and later that same day, he got himself a more reliable vehicle.
The very next day after that, I signed a lease for a very nice apartment in an attractive city within my state that will actually put me closer to my hometown as well as my work. It's been a very strange part of my life. I honestly do miss her. We had a lot in common, and we had a lot of history together. She really was my best friend, at least at the time. There are a lot of things that remind me of her. I think about her less and less each day, but in a way, it almost makes it worse when I do think about her unintentionally. There is still that natural reaction when I find a funny video or a new single comes out from an artist we both like. I have a reaction to send it to her before remembering that's not what I should be doing. We both have new apartments, we both have new cars, we both have new lives. I'm anxious and nervous about the future, but I look forward to moving to a new city and starting on rebuilding my life. I'm excited for a change of scenery and to meet new people and, more importantly, eventually finding a new partner that will give me mutual love and respect.
End of the story. Well, OP, I'm sending you my best wishes. Although I know you were hoping for a reconciliation, sometimes things have progressed too far for it to actually happen. Your ex simply didn't seem interested in doing that, and it takes two to make something happen. I'm glad you are moving on, And I sincerely hope you do find the one woman who will accept you as you are and never leave you. All the best to you. Now, before we go, let's listen to a few comments by the beautiful community. Here is the first comment.
You have taken care of everything logistically, it sounds like, which is great. How are you doing mentally, emotionally? As you move forward in life and start dating again, I hope your mind is at peace and in a healthy place. If not, there is no shame in talking with a therapist or reading helpful books. You've been through a traumatic life event. Wishing you the best. OP's reply. I'd like to think I'm in a better place now. The first 3 weeks or so, I hardly ate anything, and when I did, I got sick shortly after. Within that time frame, I lost about a pound of weight each day. Additionally, I only got about 3 or 4 hours of sleep each night. Compared to those conditions, I am doing a lot better physically. There are still a few days and nights that it festers in my head. The event still affects my sleep every once in a while. Other than that, what still bothers me are the things that remind me of her. The best way I can explain it is if someone slaps your calf. It might be hard to walk for a bit, but it's not life-threatening, and you can still move forward.
Here is the second comment.
What I have to say here is, don't spend all the money on car or leases and things that won't benefit you financially in the future. OP's reply. My car was on its last legs and struggled to start in the winter. I live in the northern US, so that's more than half the year. I also need a new place to live now that the house has been sold. I work all the time and money isn't much of an issue for me.
Thank you all for listening. Please like, comment and share the video if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.